Good morning. Jai Hind to all of you. My name is Dr. Veena Bharti and I am Assistant Professor at AKGEC Ghaziabad. Today, I am going to discuss about the topic Introduction to HCI. So, what is HCI? Here is the course outline. First topic is what is the HCI, that is introduction, then goal of HCI, defining the user interface and the importance of user interface, the importance of good design and the benefit of good design, then the history of human computer interface. So, first is introduction to HCI. What is HCI? HCI is basically human computer interaction, that is also called man-machine interaction. That means if there is a communication between a man and a computer, then HCI came into existence. So basically, HCI is a discipline concerned with the design, evaluation and implementation of interactive computing system for human use and with the study of major phenomena surrounding them. Okay, so what are the goals of HCI? So first, HCI means how we can interact with the computer. So the basic goal of HCI is to improve the interaction between the user and the computer. User means the user or the people who is using the computer. Okay. Then second point is by making computer more usable and receptive to user need, because user may vary, some may know computer and some may not know. So if the user did not know how to use the computer, then there is a need of HCI, means user interface is basically required. A long-term goal of HCI is to design system that minimize the barrier between the human's cognitive model of what they want, and second goal is to accomplish the computer understanding of the user task. That means what is the requirement of the user, depend on that we have to create our HCI. So why is HCI important? First point is user-centered design is getting a crucial role because it depends upon the user. What is its need? According to that need, HCI is prepared, or we say user interface is prepared, and it is getting more important today to increase competitiveness via HCI study, and this was given by the Norman in 1990. And high cost e-transformation investment is also there, so that is why HCI is important. Then next point is user lose time with badly designed product and services. If the HCI, or we say user interface, is not properly defined or not properly designed, then user may not use that product. So giving in that mind, we have to design HCI according to user requirement. User even give up using the bad interface, he may get bored or not using it, and ineffective allocation of resources. So this is the main point, HCI is important. Then Norman's 7 principle. According to Norman's, the design is based on user-centered, and the basic principle is to transform difficult task into simple one. So first point according to normal principle is use both knowledge in the word and knowledge in the head. Second point is to simplify the structure of the task. That means if there is any task, then we have to simplify it by dividing them into simple tasks. So simplify the structure of task. This is the second principle. Third principle is make things visible. That is bridge the gulf of execution and evaluation. So if there is a gap, then we have to fulfill that gap. That means evaluation and execution are done in a proper way. Then getting the mapping right. That means the mapping is done properly. If there is a computer and user is using that interface, then mapping is required. Fifth point is exploit the power of constraint, both natural and artificial. And sixth point is design for error. That is the main point. That means if user interface is designed, then it may be error free. If there is any error occur, then it may not happen that system will hang. It may display some error message. So the interface is designed according to that criteria. Then seventh point is when all else fail, then standardize. That means if all else methods are failed, then we have to use the standard method. Then defining the user interface. So user interface is basically design is a subset of field of study. So that is your HCI. HCI is the study, planning and design of how people and computer work together so that a person's need are satisfied in a most effective way. That means we have to design our user interface according to our user. What is its need? Then HCI designer must consider a variety of factors. So these factors are what people want and what are their expectation, and also what are the physical limitation that may be your hardware, that may be software, and abilities people possesses. It is possible that all users are not accept all type of user interface. So we have to design according to the user requirement. Then how information processing system work. That is also included what people find enjoyable and attractive. Then technical characteristic and limitation of computer, that may be your hardware or software, that must also be considered for designing the user interface. Then the user interface is the part of computer, it's hardware that people can see. That means if we are interacting with the computer, then people can see, people can hear, people can touch, people can talk to, otherwise understand or direct. Then also the user interface is essentially two components. First one is the input and second is the output. Input means how a user can give his input to the computer. So there are many devices available. The common input components are keyboard, mouse, trackball, finger, that means touch screen is there, and voice recognition. Then output. Output is the device, that means how we can get the output from the computer. So for getting output, there is a display screen or there may be our speaker or printer. So these are the output. So output is how computer convey the result of its computation and requirement to the user. Today the most common computer output mechanism is display screen. So this is the most common output device we are using. Then followed by mechanisms that take advantage of person's auditory capabilities, that means its hearing, and voice and sound, and also the use of human senses. Human senses, there are 5 human senses. So smell and touch output in interface design, this is the research field in which there is no work done. So this is unexplored field. Then proper interface design will provide a mix of well-designed input and output mechanism. That means there is a proper interaction between the input and output mechanism that satisfies the user need, its capability and the limitation in a most effective way possible. And the second, the best interface is the one that permit the user to focus on the information and task at its hand, not the mechanism, because actually the user is not interested in what mechanism we have used. Actually, he is interested only in its input and output. Then the importance of good design. What is the importance of good design? In today's technology, we know that tools are our main motivation to create effective and usable interface and screen. So why do we continue to produce inefficient and confusing system at work? Because it is just we don't care, or we don't possess common sense, or we don't have time, or we still don't know what really makes good design. Actually, this is not our barrier for creating a good design. And also, if we have never seen to have a time to find out what makes good design or not properly apply it. After all, many of us have other thing to do in addition to designing interface. These are actually not considered. We have to design a clear user interface. So we take our best shot given the workload and time constraint imposed upon us, and the result too often is woefully inadequate. And the importance of good design, interface and screen design were really a matter of common sense. We developer would have been producing almost identical screen. That means we are trying to specify things that is related to our real world. And the example of bad design include if we have created anything and that was closed in a door with complete wood, and we would not be able to see. That is our bad design. Best design is if there is a glass door so that we can see easily all things. And the importance of user interfaces, a well-designed interface and screen is very important to our user. It is their window to view the capability of system. Second point is it is also the vehicle through which many critical tasks are presented. That means it is the interface through which we can communicate with our computer. So this is the main vehicle, and these tasks often have a direct impact on an organization relation with its customer and its profitability. Third point is a screen layout, its appearance. This is also one of the important points because it may affect a person in a variety of ways. If they are confusing and inefficient, then it makes a greater difficulty for user to use that one, and that makes in doing their job will make more mistake. And poor design may even chase some people away from a system permanently. That means he is bored or he is not using that system. Okay, so this is the benefit of good design. Here is the graph, or you say table is given. In this table, we have given the data according to that. If screen in using of a screen, there is additional time required per second in per screen. If there is one screen, then total additional time is 0.7 million screen per year. If there is 5 seconds, then 3.6 screen per year are more included. And if there is 10 screens, then 7.8 million per screen per year. If there is 20 screen and additional increase required, then there is 14.2 screen per year. So that is the data given. Then benefit of good design. So the benefit of a well-designed screen have also been undertaken. So one researcher, for example, attempt to improve the screen clarity and readability by making a screen less crowded. That means screen is less crowded so that user can easily use that one. And separate item which had been combined on the same display line to conserve space were placed on a separate line instead. And third is the result screen user were about 20% more productive with less crowded version. That means we have to make a screen that is less crowded. Then proper formatting. Proper formatting is also the main important point because the screen does not have a significant positive effect on performance. In recent years, the productivity benefit of well-designed web pages have also been scrutinized, and training costs are also lowered because training time is reduced. If we accept anything easier, then training cost will be reduced, and the support line costs are also lowered because fewer assist calls are necessary. Then fourth point is employee satisfaction is increased because aggravation and frustrations are reduced, and ultimately an organization customer benefit because of improved service they receive. So these are the benefit of good design. And also identifying and resolving problems during the design and development process has also become a significant economic benefit. And how many screens are used each day in our technological world? How many screens are used each day in our organization? That may be 1,000, millions or other. Imagine the possible saving Proper screen design might also, of course, lower the cost. So, brief history of HCI. The need for people to communicate with each other has existed since we walked upon this planet. That means if we want to communicate with other person, then what are the main feature? If there is no language exist, then people may converse using some sign language. And the lowest and most common level of communication mode we share are movement and gestures. Then movement and gesture are language independent, because when there is an era, there is no language at that time. If though two persons are communicating, then movement and gestures are only applicable, and that is they permit people who do not speak the same language. That is also one of the issue. Then the next higher level in terms of universality and complexity is spoken language, because most people can speak one language, some may two or some may more, but that is not necessary. If there is a if two persons do not know their language, then how will they communicate? So that is also one of the major factor. So spoken language is very efficient mode of communication if both parties to communication understand. At the third and highest level of complexity is written language. While most people speak, not all can write. That is also one of the criteria. But for those who can, writing is still nowhere near as efficient a means of communication as speaking. In modern time, we have typewriter. Another step upward is communication complexity. Significantly, fewer people can type, but many people cannot type. So it is better if we talk or if we use some language through which we can communicate. Spoken language, however, is still more efficient because typing is not easier for all. Then, though its first few decades, a computer ability to deal with human communication was inversely related to what was easy for people to do. The computer demanded rigid typed input through a keyboard. People responded slowly using the device and with varying degrees of skill. The human-computer dialogue reflected the computer preferences that consist of one style or a combination of style using keyboard, commonly referred to as command language, question answer, menu selection, function, key selection, and form fill-in. Then, throughout the computer history, designers have been developing with varying degree of success. Other human-computer interaction method can utilize using more general, widespread, and easier to learn capabilities, voice and handwriting. System that recognize human speech and handwriting now exist. Characteristic of GUI. So these are the basic characteristics of GUI. A graphical system possesses a set of defining concepts. First is sophisticated visual presentation. That means there is a sophisticated visual presentation. Then second is a pick and click interaction through which we can easily interact with our computer. Third is a restricted set of interface option. Okay. Fourth point is visualization. Fifth point is object oriented. Sixth point is extensive use of person recognition memory. And seventh is concurrent performance of functions. Then this is the chronological history of GUI. So in 1973, pioneered at the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, first to put together all the elements of modern GUI. Then in 1981, first commercial marketing as Xerox Star, widely introducing pointing, selection and mouse. That is the basic feature of our mouse. In 1983, Apple introduces the Lisa. That is the feature pull down menus and menu bar. Then in 1984, Apple introduces the Macintosh. Macintosh is one of the first successful mass marketed system. Then in 1985, Microsoft came into existence and Microsoft Windows 1.0 is released. In 1987, X Windows system became widely available, and in 1988, Next Step released. Then in 1989, Unix-based GUI released, Microsoft Windows 3.0 released. Then 1992 further OS2 Workplace Shell released, Microsoft 3.1 released. And in 1993, Microsoft Windows NT released. Then in 1995, Microsoft Windows 95 released. In 1996, IBM releases OS2 RAP4. Microsoft introduced NT 4.0. Then in 1997, Apple releases the Mac OS 8. 1998, Microsoft introduces Windows 98. 1999, Apple releases Mac OS X Server, a Unix-based OS. In 2000, Microsoft Windows 2000 ME released. And in 2001, Microsoft Windows XP was released. Then in 2003, Microsoft releases Windows Server 2003, that is aka Windows NT 5.2, and for a time it is also called Windows.NET Server. In 2004, React OS, that is 0.2.0 is released. React OS is basically a 32-bit window clone and can even use Windows NT device drivers. This is the first version to include the GUI shell and React OS Explorer. And at this point, React OS is still in early development and can only run very simple window applications such as Solitaire. In 2007, after a long wait, Microsoft finally releases Microsoft Windows, that is Windows NT 6.0. And in 2019, Windows 7, that is NT 6.1 released. Relatively little difference over Vista, but may be historically important as last vaguely sane version of Windows. And in 2011, Ubuntu releases 11.4 with its new Unity interface. Then in 2011, GNOME 3 was released with a desktop that is similar to that of Unity. And in 2011, Mate was also released. Mate is a fork of GNOME 2 desktop that preserves the same user interface that is based on our GUI. And in 2011, Microsoft releases Windows 8 NT 6.2, placing a minimalist interface optimized for mobile devices over its Vista 7 desktop interface. In 2015, Microsoft released Windows 10. Windows 10 was released in 2015 and mostly reverting back to a traditional desktop and Metro app window now overlap. So the start menu include the content of Windows 8 and also Microsoft uses Windows 10 for advertising and bundles telemetry spyware. To get people to switch, they offer all Windows. That means either user can use Windows 7 or Windows 8 or upgrade it to a Windows 10. Thanks.